Well, hey there, everyone. Happy Saturday. My name is Meg Wheeler. I am a candidate for the Massachusetts State Senate in the Plymouth and Norfolk District. And I am here today to give you an update on the COVID-19 situation. Just for everyone's information, I apologize for not coming live last night. We had a lot of updates we wanted to get through, but had some technical challenges. So we are here today. I go live every single weeknight at 7:30 p.m. usually. And so, of course, I'll be back here on Monday with that. So I do just want to start out where I always do, which is with an update on the numbers. So these are as of last night. We expect new numbers today. We get new numbers every afternoon. But right now in Massachusetts, we have tested 102,372 people. That's an increase of 7,414 tests that were done yesterday. Our statewide number of cases that have tested positive with COVID-19 is at 20,974. That's an additional 2,033 cases today. I have heard reports that experts are estimating that the highest, when we hit our surge, that we will be at 2,500 new cases a day. So we're just over 2,000 right now. Very sadly, our death count has now increased to 599. That's 96 new deaths yesterday. We do unfortunately expect that number to continue going up as we go into what we expect will be the surge coming up. Across the United States, there are now over 491,000 positive cases of COVID-19 with over 18,000 deaths. The death toll globally has now exceeded over 100,000 people. So this is absolutely not something to make light of. It's something to continue taking seriously and continue taking social distancing measures and stay-at-home orders seriously. Before I dive into the state update, on that note, I do just want to address something that that I've seen around Facebook and on social media and in some comments, which is why everyone's so concerned about this when the flu on an annual basis kills more people than we've seen so far from COVID-19. And I think what's important for people to understand is that while that is an incredibly difficult challenge as well, what's making COVID-19 so difficult to deal with is the rate at which it's happening and the speed at which it transmits from person to person. And as a result, the impact that's having on our hospital and medical facilities and the burden it is causing them, which in many cases has been too much to bear and hospitals are overfull. So I think that's the difference, and it's an important one to remember as we're going through this, and that's why it's so incredibly important that we take this seriously. Now, on the state level, the state is now recommending that everyone wear masks when they go out. We have said this before, but your mask should cover the top of your nose and go underneath your chin. The thicker the fabric, the better. The N95 masks should still be reserved for frontline responders. The current models show that the peak here in the state, which was originally estimated to occur between April 10th, which was yesterday, and April 20th, now may come closer to April 20th, so the end of that. The current death rate, which was at 1.5% a few days ago, is now up to 2.7%. It continues to grow. However, the death rate here in Massachusetts is lower than the death rate nationally, and Governor Baker has attributed that to our stay-at-home efforts and our social distancing, which is, again, why it's so incredibly important that we continue those measures. The state has distributed 2.6 million pieces of PPE, personal protective equipment, to medical facilities and frontline responders, but they are still looking for more. They have set up a website, maresponds.org, for public health, healthcare, and emergency response volunteers to sign up for help. So if you have a background in that, if you are retired and you can provide your time, that would be greatly appreciated. But they do have, from what I understand, volunteer opportunities for people who do not have medical backgrounds as well. So far, Massachusetts has received 200 ventilators from the federal stockpile. We've requested over 1,000. We've been told we're going to receive an additional 200 this week, but we'll see. On the unemployment front, for anyone who's already been approved and is receiving benefits from unemployment, you will start to receive the additional $600 per week, which is part of that federal stimulus package. You will start to receive that this coming week. Excuse me. For those who are self-employed or otherwise would not qualify for unemployment but will qualify under the expansion of benefits in the federal stimulus package, The state will likely not be ready to take your application until April 30th. So they are working with a third-party vendor to create a new system to be able to take those applications. I will say candidly that I am incredibly disappointed in the state's response on that matter. I think we have a lot of folks who are struggling financially, and being told that they have to wait an additional month to get benefits is completely unacceptable in my opinion. If we were seeing this across the board where it was taking states this long, then maybe we could say, okay, this is a legitimate delay. But we are seeing states and other countries get benefits out to people within days. And we are seeing other states who are already up and running in distributing benefits to their self-employed folks. So I think this is a completely unacceptable response from the state. I am fully in support of Representative Maria Robinson, who sent a letter to Governor Baker just a couple days ago, sharing with him her concerns that too many of our residents are being left behind by this. Too many of our residents are being asked to wait until April 30th or perhaps even later to get the financial support that they need to stay afloat. There are too many people out there who will not be able to pay their bills, will not be able to put food on the table for their families. And this is a huge concern, and I think our state needs to take immediate action. So I will continue to call on our leaders, our elected officials to do that. I do just want to put some numbers on it in terms of the number of unemployment applications that have already been received. So it's estimated that about 27% of the lodging and food industry are now on unemployment, 25% of the construction industry, 16% of the retail industry, and 8.5% of the healthcare industry. So we're seeing some significant numbers here. And let's be honest, when this situation is over and we can all leave our homes, we're going to need some really big economic recovery efforts, because this will not go away the minute we're all allowed out of our houses. On the schools front, just one quick update. So currently the order is that schools are closed through May 4th. Governor Baker has said that he will make a determination about whether or not to just cancel the entire school year prior to May 4th, most likely. So stay tuned for that. I expect that we'll probably have more on the schools front as we go later into April. I do want to give you just a few updates on the legislative side. So the State House, was working this week on some measures to support Massachusetts residents through COVID-19. So Governor Baker signed a bill on Friday which dealt with a few different things. The first is the MCAS, the required standardized test in our schools. So the bill suspends MCAS testing for the rest of this school year. It also allows the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education the ability to modify or waive graduation requirements for students who were going to graduate this year. And it extends the due dates for districts to submit their 3-year improvement plan. So it's just giving the school system a little bit more leeway on what they have to do normally. The bill also addresses homelessness. So existing funds to support the homeless that would be used for services that cannot be provided right now during COVID-19. This bill allows them to be repurposed and used for immediate and critical homelessness needs. As I'm sure you can imagine, our homeless communities are especially hard hit because one of the measures to stay safe and healthy during this time is to stay home. And unfortunately, our homeless communities just do not have the resources that a lot of us have to weather this storm. And so the funds from this bill, from this redistribution, are significantly important to support our homeless populations. Lastly, in the bill, it also gives the MBTA some budget flexibility so they can reallocate some funds as they need to address this situation. The state Senate also passed a bill to help homeowners and renters. This is different. We talked last week about the House passed a bill and the state Senate had put something forward, but this is a variation of it. So this is a moratorium on all stages of evictions and foreclosures. That was one of the critiques from the Senate bill last week, was that it didn't deal with every single stage. It just prevented the final eviction or foreclosure. So this bill would block non-essential evictions and foreclosures for 120 days after it becomes law, and it gives Governor Baker the ability to extend the moratorium for an additional 120 days if the crisis goes beyond that. So specifically, the bill prohibits a landlord or property owner from ending a tenancy, sending a notice to quit, from the court even having a hearing on the issue, certainly from the court entering a judgment on the issue, and also prohibits the removal of a tenant excuse me, from the property. It completely halts the foreclosure process. It requires mortgage lenders to grant a forbearance of up to 180 days. However, the homeowner has to submit a request for this forbearance. It's not automatic. You do need to submit a request, and it needs to be a request because of COVID-19 circumstances. So this bill also prohibits mortgage lenders and landlords from reporting these missed payments to credit reporting agencies, as well as prohibits them from charging fines, penalties, or interest during the forbearance period. Now, these protections are available to homeowners. Again, if you request it, you have to request it with your lender, and they are available to tenants if they provide notice and documentation to the landlord within 30 days of the missed payment. Lastly, the bill allows the use of video conferencing for reverse mortgages. Part of the reverse mortgage process is real-time counseling. This provides video conferencing for that option. The last bill, excuse me, that the State Senate introduced that I want to just bring up really quickly is a bill that would actually lower the required number of signatures for candidates to get on the ballot. So this week, 3 candidates, a candidate for U.S. Senate, a candidate for state representative, and a candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, collectively filed a lawsuit and sued the state after the deadline for getting signatures to be certified had not been changed due to COVID-19. This is a bipartisan lawsuit, so it's a Republican candidate, 2 Democratic candidates. It comes in the wake of Representative Pat Kearney out of Scituate and Marshfield, who filed a bill last week in the House to have the number of signatures required be reduced, a bill that, at least up until this point, House leadership has not brought up for a vote. And so the State Senate responded by having this legislation. So in this legislation, the number of signatures needed for each campaign would decrease, but the deadline to get them would stay the same. And so the way the numbers work out, candidates for U.S. For U.S. Senator would go from 10,000 to 5,000 signatures. For U.S. representatives would go, I actually forget where they were at, 2,000 maybe, but would go to 1,000. And then at the state level for governor's council and then county offices, it would go from 1,000 to 500. So this was introduced today by the Senate Committee on Rules. The Senate is in adjournment until Monday. We expect them to have discussions on it and hopefully a vote on it then. At that point, we'll see what the House does, because again, the House has not made movement on this yet. But an update there. On the federal level, just one quick update for you. So a model that they've been using out of the University of Washington now says today that yesterday was actually, so April 10th was actually the peak day for total number of deaths, but still indicates that today, April 11th, is the peak day for use of hospital resources. We'll see if this ends up being the case, but that's what the model has predicted. The model also now predicts 61,500 deaths across the United States by the end of August. That's a little bit up from the earlier prediction this week of 60,000, but it's significantly down from even earlier predictions of 100 to 200,000 deaths. The model, however, I will note, does assume full social distancing measures through the end of May. This is why it's so incredibly important that we continue to respect the stay-at-home advisory here in Massachusetts, and that we, continue to practice social distancing when we go out. And now, as the state is advising and the CDC is advising, that we wear masks when we leave the house as well. I will say, and throughout the last few weeks, I've been calling repeatedly for the governor to issue a stay-at-home order and not an advisory. I now understand that several towns in our district have implemented fines for people who are found not practicing social distancing measures. I think it's frankly unfortunate and disappointing that the state is putting the burden of enforcement of this action onto the towns, and that it's essentially causing police officers to have to be out there even more, to have to address these issues, to have to issue these fines to folks. That puts their lives in jeopardy. Had the state just issued a strict stay-at-home order, which of course would still allow you to go out for the essentials, I want to be very clear, but had the state put that into place, we would not have to put the onus on our local police departments. So I'm disappointed to hear that. I'm grateful for the towns that are stepping up and putting enforcement actions into place, because we are still seeing people not respecting social distancing measures. So I'm going to end it there. I know I've got a few questions. I'll take a couple today. So, okay, so what can we do to support small businesses during this epidemic? Yeah, it's a great question. I'll echo the things I've said before. So I think the first is to continue to actually to shop at small businesses. So if you're buying books or puzzles, call your local bookstore or your local toy shop. If you're buying gifts, call the local gift store. If you're eating out, or if you're going to do dinner, make sure if you can that you're trying to do takeout a few times a week. If you can support those places, that is incredibly important. I think on a bigger level, candidly, it's ensuring that leaders are people who understand the needs of small businesses, and that you're voting for leaders who will actually fight for small businesses and will fight for the things that small businesses need. And I want to sort of address this one thing, because it comes up a lot, I think, which is that, we often talk about small businesses and we often talk about workers and employees, and the two are not, mutually exclusive, or the two do not have to fight against each other. I believe that when we put protections in place for our workers and our employees, that we are making small businesses stronger. And I believe that when we support our small businesses, we are also supporting our employees and our workers. So I think continuing to push for things like, frankly, a better unemployment system, push for financial support for individuals, pushing for protections for our workers, pushing to make sure that people have the appropriate PPE that they need, and that, businesses are respecting the laws now to cover pay for sick leave and medical leave and the family time off and all of that. I think those measures are incredibly important. The more people we keep safe and healthy in our communities, the more our small businesses will thrive. And so I will continue to advocate for small businesses and continue to encourage you to do the same. Okay, so excuse me. Okay, so how does one explain to younger folks about this epidemic? Is a lot of younger folks miss their friends and are wondering when they can see their friends again. Yeah, I mean, look, I think, and this isn't limited to just younger folks. I think I've talked to a lot of people who are really struggling right now with the social distancing measures. And frankly, one of my biggest concerns is actually mental health. And I won't dive too deep into it on this Facebook Live, but mental health is an issue that I will continue to advocate very strongly for, ensuring that people have access to quality and affordable mental health care, because so many people right now are being left behind because they do not. I know this as someone who has been incredibly lucky to have good access to mental health care and has still had her own mental health struggles within what is an incredibly burdensome and chaotic system. So, my message to people of all ages is, I get that this is an incredibly difficult time. The only way we get through this is by making some sacrifices and by continuing to check in on each other, to encourage each other, and to be there for each other as a community. There are people out there fighting on the front lines for us: the nurses, the doctors, the hospital staff, the frontline responders, the police, the fire departments, everyone working in our towns to keep us safe. The people in the grocery stores and the coffee shops, our truck drivers. People are working every single day. People are leaving their homes, leaving their families, putting their lives on the line for all of us. The least we can do is stay in our homes. I get that it's tough. I get that, again, especially for those of us who struggle with mental health, that this type of isolation in some instances can be life-threatening. Please take advantage of the resources that are out there for you. We've got a whole list of them on our website, megwheeler.com/COVID. We've got an entire mental health section for you to find resources, but just, doing what you can to check on each other, to have those Zoom calls. I know we're all getting sick of Zoom, but to have those Zoom calls, to have phone calls with people, to text with people. I promise you these efforts are worth it. They are what will get us through this. They are what will keep our death toll a lot lower than it otherwise could be. And it is an incredible sacrifice that people are making for us out there. We need to do our part to protect them. Okay. I see a question about the disability check. That's a great question, and whether or not you can still get unemployment. I'm honestly not sure. We'll look into that. We'll get back to you on that. How can restaurants create jobs to potentially bring back workers during this epidemic? Yeah. Excuse me. Well, I will say a couple of things. So the first thing, and I've said this before, but I want to reiterate it, is we need to ensure that our businesses stay stable right now. Not necessarily that they're booming, but that they stay stable. That's what we can hope for right now. And so in order to do that, we need to make sure that things like the federal stimulus package, that money actually gets in the hands of our workers. And look, I've been doing these Facebook Lives for a few weeks now. When we first heard about the stimulus package, I was cautiously optimistic. It felt like they had put some good things into place. And unfortunately, we are not seeing that money get in the hands of small business owners as quickly as it needs to. I've heard of a couple good stories of the business owners getting the funds they need. But to be honest, for every good story, I have 100 more where people aren't even getting a response. I will tell you, I personally, for my business, applied for the small business, the SBA EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, over 2 weeks ago. I then emailed them 2 days later because I never got a confirmation. And so I thought, well, maybe I just didn't press submit or I missed something. So I emailed to say, hey, can you make sure my application's in the system? Because I'm honestly just not sure and I don't want to duplicate it. And that was just under 2 weeks ago, about 11 days ago. I finally got a response to that customer service inquiry today. And the response was, sorry, there's no way to edit an application in the system or even check an application in the system. If you're not sure, just go ahead and reapply. That is a breakdown. That is completely unacceptable. Now, I'm not worried for me. I'm worried for everyone else who is getting that email and is feeling desperate as they're watching their business go under. That is completely unacceptable. The way this has been rolled out has failed small businesses, and the way unemployment is being rolled out is failing our individual workers as well, and our self-employed folks and our small business owners. So, I think this question is bigger than just what can restaurants do. I think this question is how can our government actually stand up and do what they're supposed to be doing and get the money to workers now, and they need to be doing better. And that's why people like me will continue to call on them to do better. But that's number one, is stabilizing our businesses. Once we get out of this woods and people can actually go out of their homes, I then think it's important that the state step up and do more for these businesses that have been hit. I would like to see more financial support from the state level in the form of grants to help businesses get through this recovery period. Because here's what I think is going to happen. I think as soon as they lift the stay-at-home restrictions, I think we're going to see a lot of people rush out, go to the bars, go to the restaurants, go to the shops. Everybody's going to be excited to get out of the house, and we're going to see a little bit of an economic boost. And then what's going to happen is that's going to drop, because the realities of the financial impacts of these months will come into fold for people, and they will realize that, while they could rush out and go have that one dinner, they can't do it every single night like they used to. And so we need to ensure that our businesses are getting the financial support that they can. And I want to see that happen at the State House level. And that's something that, frankly, when I'm in the State Senate, I will be pushing for. In fact, I see my priority the minute I'm in the State Senate is to focus on economic recovery, because even in January of 2021, I think we are still going to be dealing with the economic effects of this pandemic. All right, great questions today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Excuse me. As always, I want to encourage you to go online to the Red Cross, redcross.org, to donate blood. They are absolutely still in need. If you have access to PPE, personal protective equipment, please check the state's website. They have information on where you can get that to donate. If you are able to volunteer at all, it's maresponds.org is the state's website for signing up for that. And in the meantime, just please stay safe and healthy. Please reach out to us if there's anything at all that you need. You can email us at hello@megwheeler.com. Call us at 781-724-3461. Or, of course, you can DM us on social media. And then I will be back here on Monday night at 7:30 p.m. And lastly, check out our resources page at megwheeler.com/COVID. So go enjoy the beautiful day while practicing social distancing. Please stay safe and healthy with your families if you can. And if you are out there on the front lines fighting for us, thank you again. You are You are absolutely heroes, but you deserve so much more than being called heroes. You deserve us fighting for you to ensure that you get the benefits and the pay and the respect and the equipment that you absolutely need, given the incredible sacrifices that you're taking for us. So please stay safe. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and I will see you all next week. Bye.